Imagine being a child, eager to learn and grow, but suddenly told that you have a serious speech problem. You begin to doubt yourself, hesitate to speak, and become self-conscious. This is exactly what happened in 1939 during an experiment that would later be known as the monster study. This psychological study, conducted by Wendell Johnson and Mary Tudor at the University of Iowa, was designed to understand the causes of stuttering. However, its unethical methods and harmful effects left a lasting mark on the children involved. Let's explore what happened, why it was so controversial, and what it teaches us about the power of words. Wendell Johnson was not just any psychologist, he was someone who had experienced stuttering firsthand. As a child, he struggled with a stutter, which led him to dedicate his life to understanding speech disorders. He was a well-respected figure in the field of speech therapy and strongly believed that stuttering was not entirely a biological issue, but could be influenced by external factors. His passion for finding a cure drove him to conduct groundbreaking research. However, his desire to prove his theory led to ethical missteps in the monster study. Despite his later contributions to speech therapy, this experiment remains a dark stain on his legacy. To test his theory, Johnson and his graduate student Mary Tudor selected 22 orphaned children for an experiment. The children were divided into two groups. One group consisted of children who already stuttered, while the other included children who spoke fluently. The researchers then used positive and negative speech therapy on these children. Half of the children were given positive reinforcement, where they were praised for their speech and encouraged to speak confidently. The other half, however, were harshly criticized and told that they had a speech disorder, even if they spoke perfectly fine. These children were repeatedly warned to be careful with their speech and were made to feel as though they had a serious problem. The goal of the study was to see if labeling children as stutterers could actually cause them to develop a speech disorder. Unfortunately, the results were devastating. The children who received negative feedback about their speech began to show signs of self-doubt, anxiety, and communication problems. Some of them developed speech issues that they did not have before. Even though they spoke fluently at the beginning of the study, they started hesitating, avoiding conversations, and showing signs of nervousness when speaking. The psychological damage was clear. Meanwhile, the children who were praised and encouraged showed no negative effects. Their confidence in speaking grew, and they continued to speak fluently. This suggested that stuttering, at least in some cases, could be triggered or worsened by negative reinforcement and societal pressure, rather than just genetics or biology. Years later, this experiment was labeled the monster study because of the emotional harm it caused to the children involved. The name reflects the ethical concerns surrounding the study. Unlike many other psychological experiments, this one did not involve informed consent. The children had no idea they were part of an experiment, and they were not protected from harm. Johnson and Tudor never published the study because they likely realized how unethical it was. However, the damage had already been done. Some of the children carried the emotional scars of this experiment into adulthood, struggling with communication and self-esteem issues long after the study ended. Today, this experiment is a prime example of unethical psychological research. Several key ethical violations occurred. Lack of consent. The children were orphans and had no say in whether they wanted to participate. Psychological harm. The negative feedback given to the children caused lasting emotional damage. Deception. The researchers did not tell the children or their caregivers the true purpose of the study. If conducted today, this study would never be allowed. Modern psychological research follows strict ethical guidelines, including informed consent, the right to withdraw, and protection from harm. The monster study serves as a powerful reminder of why these ethical rules are so important. The monster study highlighted a crucial psychological lesson. Words have power. When children or adults are repeatedly told they are bad at something, they may start believing it, even if it isn't true. This is known as the self-fulfilling prophecy. When someone's belief about themselves influences their behavior and eventually makes the belief come true. This study also connects to labeling theory, which suggests that once people are labeled in a certain way, they begin to act according to that label. If a child is called shy or clumsy often enough, they might start behaving that way, even if it wasn't originally part of their personality. The lesson? Encouragement and positive reinforcement matter. The way parents, teachers, and society speak to children can shape their confidence and abilities for life. The monster study supported the idea that stuttering can be influenced by the environment. While stuttering has genetic and neurological causes, social and psychological factors also play a big role. Negative reinforcement, pressure, or fear of speaking can worsen speech problems. On the other hand, supportive environments help children develop confidence in their communication skills. This experiment also changed the way speech therapy is done today. Modern speech therapy focuses on building confidence, reducing anxiety, and encouraging natural speech, rather than criticizing mistakes. Despite its unethical nature, the monster study taught psychologists important lessons about speech development and the effects of negative reinforcement. The key takeaways include labeling matters. Being told you have a problem can make you believe it, even if it isn't true. Encouragement is powerful. Positive reinforcement helps people build confidence and improve skills. Ethics in research are crucial. Studies that cause harm, even unintentionally, should not be allowed. Stuttering is not just genetic. Environmental factors, including social pressure, can contribute to speech problems. Today, psychological research follows much stricter ethical rules, ensuring that studies do not harm participants. The monster study remains a dark but important lesson in how psychology should and should not be done. What if the children in the monster study had only received positive reinforcement? Their speech and their self-esteem might have developed differently. This experiment shows us the power of words and how they can shape a child's future. Encouragement, patience, and support are key to helping children grow and learn. What do you think? Have you ever experienced the impact of words, either positive or negative? Let's discuss in the comments.